7:45 and good morning, everybody. Big topic this morning. Big topic. We're talking about capital growth with property. It's the biggest reason why us Australians love property is capital growth with property. And I'm going to add in Mr. Bird. Our awards night tonight. Tonight we've been nominated as the top 3 agent in the country in commercial. Hey, Glenn, we've been nominated top 3 agency in the country. Our competitors that we're up against have over 15,000 employees, about I think 7,000 to 10,000 employees each. So little DY, little Northern Beaches, little Novak on a national stage. Realestate.com.au and realcommercial.com.au are known as the REA Group, and the REA Group are handing out the awards. So stay tuned, and we're going to tonight. We'll do a bit of crossover on that, just on the awards night. So fingers crossed. Just going to add that there. Now, also today, capital growth. What we wanted to have a chat about is the fundamental. Australians are in property.
How are you?
Hey, Michael. Good, you?
Good. Very good. We're connected. I think sounds good as well. Morning, Amal. How are you?
I think we've got a good connection. Amal, how you going? Jeff, Glenn. So big night tonight, the awards night.
Yes, very excited. We're down here in Melbourne. I think you fly in this afternoon, don't you?
Yep.
Fly in, take the award, fly out, Novak style.
FIFO, fly in, fly out. So pretty excited. So we'll do a couple of live cutovers tonight when the awards are announced, and fingers crossed. I'm feeling lucky.
Yeah, I think we're finalists last year. I reckon we're going to take it out. So I'm confident.
Yep.
I think we've done a lot for that industry. We've done a lot of innovation through there, and just sort of. Yeah, it would be really good to bring it to Northern Beaches as well, especially over the big. It's always keeping in the city. The big guys have won it the last forever, really. So I reckon it'll be good. So,
it's a bit David and Goliath story. So,
yeah.
Now let's talk about capital growth, Michael. We love it. We get excited about it. We always talk about it. There wouldn't be less than 100 references a day from a real estate agent in the industry that doesn't talk about capital growth all day, every day. Prices, and where it's gone. So let's just explain first of all to everyone exactly what is capital growth, other terminology for capital growth.
Yeah. So capital growth is the growth of the property. The capital is known as, say, the house or the unit. In layman's terms, when it's the difference from what you bought it to what it's worth now. And that's where a lot of people have created wealth from their residential, commercial, land, or any type of property. Is the value of it's gone up through the years have gone past. There's a lot of ways you can sort of increase the value of a property. A lot of it is time and when the demand for the property goes up, but also through renovations and things like that. So I find historically, when you look at, say, DY, we've had capital growth, maybe 50% in the last 5 years, just from the property values. And that's what a lot of people are searching for. It's a very, very passive way. And that's what we say to people when buying property, like play the long game, buy in an area. It may not have the highest rental return, but it will have strong capital growth. So in that 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it could be worth double what you bought it for. And for the past 40 years, it's doubled over the last, every 10 years, 10, 15 years. So that's what you're looking for.
And look, what we've got to remember as Aussies is capital growth predominantly is the land value. There's not a lot of if you look at the breakup of a value, it's different to a car, because a car is just that. It's an aging asset. It's an old puppy. It ages, but land never ages. Land always performs really well. And if you look at our assets, the land has sort of done 80 to 90% of the growth, and the structure 10 or 20% has carried the usage along the way, generated a yield, which we spoke about the other day. But really, capital growth is anchored into the land. And if you can get a really, really good holding of land, that's always good for capital growth. Now, Michael, so with capital growth, would you agree with saying that it's fundamentally it's single-handedly been the highest way that all Australians have made money in Australia? Because I've got to put that out there, because I know some
Yeah.
terrific business people, and I'm talking animal business people, after they paid back their partnerships, after they paid back their shareholdings, after they paid back their tax, after they paid back their debt, their phenomenal business sells, and the land holdings they've amassed over that 10, 20, 30, 40 years have always been the big humdingers.
Yeah.
And also with single home Australians, same thing.
Well, I think I get to see it a fair bit with the commercial side of it, and I can't tell you how many times I have seen a client, they've come to sell their commercial asset after working. Now, they've worked hard for 40, 50 years, but they may have only accumulated their family home. There may be that, and they have a little bit of debt on that. But besides that, it's really that property that's their retirement, that's their golden ticket at the end. And when I sort of look at it, I go, that like you bought that property for 200 grand, now it's worth 4 million. If that capital growth wasn't there, you've worked 40 years and you've obviously done things along the way, but you've only accumulated maybe owning your family home or half of it. And it's that asset, that capital growth, that property is like, I've had clients where they bought it for 200 and we've sold it for 4 mil. And it's like, that's capital growth. Without if you took that capital growth away, what other plan did you have to retire on? So I would say I've seen it a lot. Yeah, I would agree. I've seen it a lot where if I didn't see that, if that property hadn't doubled or 10 times the value, I think their retirement plans would be very, very different than what it is. So you don't want to say it's lucky because they did well, they bought, but who would have predicted 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago that the property they bought that for 200 grand would be worth 4 million, and that was their retirement. So I think
It's interesting.
I would agree.
And Gook, Luke, I just called you Gook. Sorry, mate. How long will it last? Agents were quiet in 2017, 2019, and g'day to Dane Cox. You know what? It's funny because every time I refer to capital growth online,
Yeah.
every single time, the question isn't almost how much is it going to go up. The question is surely we're overcooked, and surely we don't have capital growth. We're not deserving of capital growth. We can't have capital growth. And I think it's a great question. I know Luke's asked that, has said, how long will it last? I've got to be straight up, guys. I was asked by Tom Panos the other day about the market, and then Tom said, he was having a poke and saying, what do you reckon? And I said to Tom, the property market's done very, very well the last 100 years. And I reckon the next 100 years, it's going to do very, very well. And he absolutely pissed himself laughing. And he goes, that's a great answer. And I said, because every time I speak to short-termers in the marketplace, they're generally the pessimistic. Every time I speak to long-termers in the marketplace, they are like, who cares? Whatever. I'm buying. I'm never selling. And they are the ultra wealthy. So I've got to say that if I've noticed a pattern with capital growth, the people that are teeting on the edge of their seats, they're the ones that are buying and selling in the same property within a year or two and whinging. The people that I see that are sort of uber successful in property investing, generally never sold, only have ever bought, have amassed long time holdings.
Yes. And that's the key as well. And the only difference is in times when you may not be getting that capital growth that you can pull out is just tweak it and maybe search for more rental return and higher yields. So that's where you got to look at your portfolio. And if you're playing that long game, it's always good to find those assets with the rental return, capital growth. And they're buying for generations. They're not buying for themselves. That's the other thing as well. When they buy a property and they think it's going to be great in the long term, their attitude is like, I'm not going to, like what you said with Bruno yesterday. It's like a little bit for me now, but a little bit for the future and a little bit for the family. So it's that really long-term goal, long-term buying.
So what's the answer? If someone's saying to you, look, Michael, what's the punt? What do you reckon the market's going to do? Like, I know we're terrifically optimistic. That's our job.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot of people are very focused on the short term of the property market and not the long term of the property market. What's your short term view? Then I'm going to ask you your midterm view. Then I'm going to ask you your long term view. What's your short-term view of the property market? Is it changing in different areas of Sydney? Is it changing in different price ranges in Sydney?
Well, So my short-term view is we're probably going to plateau for the next sort of year. I still feel that like our economy is not strong at the moment, and I know we've had a great surge in the last 3 to 6 months, but that foundation of that surge, I wouldn't say is from a strong economy. So it's that low interest.
As a government point of view, to support what you just said, you don't put interest rates down if the economy is fantastic.
Correct.
You put, if the economy is in trouble, you put the rates down. If the economy is going ballistic, you put the rates up. So
and they just announced wage growth is at its lowest that it's been in years, and unemployment I think is up. So, I can't see the property price continue to surge with those cores as is. So, I think we're coming off a bit of a surge over. Yes, the last 2 years has been pretty bad, but that's because there was a lot of third-party shit up in the air, elections, Royal Commission, all that's behind us. That gave it a bit of a surge, but the foundation's not there, I feel, for it to continue at the rate it's growing now. So that's my prediction. So if you're going to sell now.
Short term, as in 18 months, 36 months, you reckon she's leveling?
Yep.
What do you reckon midterm?
It's based on if.
By the way, my short term. By the way, my short term, I reckon we're up 10%.
Okay, and then on the back of the stability, wage growth going up, unemployment down, and a stronger economy, then we should start to grow. That will be the long term. And keep in mind that 5 to 10 years, that what will give that the biggest kick is the population growth. Even if all that shit isn't resolved, if we're injecting a couple 100,000 people into Australia or 70 into Sydney, that alone over the next 5 years, regardless of the economy, will bump up the property prices. So that's where I see growth, just by the population increase each time. And also we've got a low development coming through because of that bad economy. People aren't building. So I don't see people stopping coming to Australia. So I think regardless, we will get a property kick because of the population, but that needs 5 years to kick in.
So look, I mean, a couple of important things there I want to expand on that you said. Immigration is big because a lot of people don't want to do if you look at our immigration's come in waves, and it's come in waves from different countries. It was the Italians, and it was the Poms, and it was the Serbs, and it was the Arabic countries. It was the Indians, and then it was the Nepalese, and those sort of countries. It goes in waves. Now, these guys are fantastic for our economy because, unfortunately, once it comes second generation, and that we educate the kids heavily, they don't want to do the labour. So you look at all the
Yeah.
Nepalese guys in these restaurants. These Nepalese guys are running the backbone of Sydney and feeding Sydney. And thank God for immigration. Like, you go into a kitchen, there's a lot of Nepalese guys in there, and they save and they work, and that's the beautiful thing about immigrants. So that's there, that's solid, that helps our economy. And we know what, another thing, climatically, we're a great place to live worldwide. Also, we're a desirable place to live worldwide, like pretty cool. So as long as that continues, I reckon you're spot on.
Yep.
So you reckon
And then with the
midterm, you reckon, so when we say midterm, 5 to 10 years, how much capital growth does that mean for people?
Yeah, I reckon that's when it could be that 10 to 20 to 30%. I reckon it'll be a big jump. The stock levels will be low. That's where I'm saying 10 to 30.
All right, I'm seeing 5 to 10 years double. I'm saying 100%.
Yeah.
So if I had to have a guess, so we're going to watch this in 10 years' time and look back. Let's make bets on it.
Perfect.
Okay. So long term, we're
long-term,
talking, 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, 10 to 20 years double, and if not, I reckon it'll have a much bigger jump. I reckon it could double and more so. So I reckon that long term, where you're saying double in 5 to 10, I reckon we could do a double, because with that population growth, I think there needs to be a total rehaul of all our infrastructure, transport. I think it's ridiculous how long it takes us to get places. So through the immigration and the population growth, everyone will have a louder voice of, like, take Northern Beaches, for example. It's fucked that it takes us an hour to get to the city when technically it should take 5-10 minutes. If there's a tram, a tunnel, a bridge, don't care how, we are not that far away from the city. We need more cities. So I think once people's voices get loud enough for action to be taken, which will take time, I think then it will go bananas once we can access everywhere. We're very insulated from, you got your eastern suburbs, your beaches, you're out west, like we're stuck in bubbles. Imagine when people can travel freely across it there. I think then we'll start to see some huge growth, unpredicted growth.
And also, I think there's that foresight of methods of transport. Like, I don't necessarily think tunnels or bridges are the best way.
Maybe drones.
We'll
sit into a drone, and it'll just take us. We'll fly.
I seriously mean that. I think we could not be far away from incredible transport systems with battery power technology and electric technology and stuff. So, it is. You could imagine, like, I was reading up on Teslas the other night, and they were saying that the technology inside of a Tesla car today, the car has the ability to go and work for you, so you don't have to go find parking for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's amazing. I think Luke said, well, I think Mark said 5 to 10 years to double. So we'll give you a bit of time there. Luke said, well, optimistic. 5 to 10.
And look, Luke, we're probably a bit biased in what we're saying, because that's what we've seen for 50 years, 10 year upon 10 year upon 10 year upon 10 year. That's what we're climatized to in the Northern Beaches. And if you look at if you look at the 50-year or even 100-year history of the Northern Beaches, it's systematically like a clock performed like that, and it's performed with troughs and performed with booms. It hasn't been an axis like that. It's been an axis that's gone up and down like that. So that plays with people's mind, particularly when it's short-term thinkers. Long-term thinkers, it doesn't meddle with their mind at all. They have clarity and they know what they bank on the past. And like you watch those super commercials, they say don't bank on the past. When they're talking about trends on how the superannuation's performed. But I've got to say that I don't actually think it's optimistic. I think it's something that's very realistic. That's happened every cycle in the last 50 and 100 years. And you know what? Something that we're forgetting is that was when there was an abundance of property. That was when there was an abundance. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. That's when there was an abundance of land, right? Yeah. Land is harder. So, New York City, try to find a block of land, you will not. So it's like Sydney City, try to find a block of land, you won't. So it's one of those things where I like we're actually we're undersupplied severely in the centre parts of Sydney, and if you looked at I remember they did the G2020 summit when they were about 10 years ago. They were talking about the style of living that people enjoy, and with all of the technology and all the remoteness that we have, where we can work from home, people still choose to opt in the core of the city to live. So,
Yep.
you know, we're all very romantic about working from home, but at the end of the day, people love living in the city. And when they were in that the G2020 summit, they were saying that we've got to look at infill as a more important structure than a corkscrew mentality that we've always had. So we've always had a corkscrew mentality where, okay, we need more land, let's hammer Kellyville. Okay, we need more land, let's hammer Northwest. So we've had this corkscrew mentality. The problem with the corkscrew mentality is everyone still, guess what? Everyone still wants to get to the middle of the corkscrew. That is the problem. That is the problem. Now for them, and they want to not only get to the middle, they want to often live in the middle. They definitely want to work in the middle. And as much as we think we've decentralized with technology, people still love the core. So what in the G2020 they were saying, it's very expensive as a country, because every time you add another outer layer to the corkscrew, you've got to put, this is probably a bit hard to explain.
Transport.
You've got to put each 10 kilometers around that corkscrew. You've actually got to put hospital, school, shopping, hospital, school, shopping, hospital, school, shopping, and roads and infrastructure. So if you want to add another corkscrew around,
well, another layer, Mark, is just another suburb. Another layer is a suburb, and you got to have all the basic infrastructures where in a suburb or a layer you could go up and use the existing.
Well, as the corkscrew gets bigger, another layer is 10 suburbs. As the corkscrew gets bigger, another layer is 20 suburbs. As the corkscrew, another layer goes up, it's 40 suburbs. So it's much, and how that's draining on a government, it's also, the hard thing is it clogs the artery. It actually chokes the artery. So what the government's saying is, if we infill and allow higher density in the city, higher density on train stations, to make a hospital bigger in the center of the city is much cheaper than building 12 hospitals.
Yeah. 100%.
We've got to remember that for capital growth, guys. So I think it, again, locks in capital growth in good suburbs and preserves it, and that's why people want to be there.
Yeah. But anything else we want to add tonight or today?
No, capital growth. It's here. You're saying it's going up. I'm saying going up. It must be true. Just joking.
Yeah, it's fact.
It has to be fact. How's your arm feeling?
Yeah, it's a little sore. It's cold here. It's like 10 degrees in Melbourne. So, yep, it's cold.
And to have your arm out vertical for 20 minutes like that must be really hard.
Yeah, but I've got the biceps. It's okay. No,
I got the guns. Everyone say hi to Nonna. Hi,
yeah,
Nonna.
I will. So I'm at Nonna's. Beautiful. Got to do some gardening today. I got to work. This sucks.
That's a good log house.
Alrighty, guys. Yeah, I know.
See you, mate.
Full brick. Cheers. Bye.
See you, Luke.